In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's up, Panther fans? It's the C3 Panthers Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. My name's Tony Dunn. They call me the Professor. I'm here with my wheelman, Cody Lashney. What's up, my friend?
Tony Dunn, it's a Tuesday night. You know there's nowhere I'd rather be than chilling with the boys, hanging out. Man, Cam Newton did a podcast on the pivot. There was a lot of revealing information that we got from that. More talks about Baker Mayfield. We'll talk about that further. Some breaking news with our cheerleaders. That ought to be a fun discussion. But Tony Dunn, as always, you know we're going to do this with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. You already know him and love him. It's our man Drew, ATX19, Craig Cartner, Dan Floyd, Jacqueline McCown, Jerome, Joey the Blind Panther, Matt Knows Nothing, Off Grid, Omar Tillman, Panther Pickle, Tim Estes, William Taylor, Tony Dunn, and nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Cam Newton will be the discussion on this podcast till he's not the discussion one day, and that day is not tonight because he went on the pivot, and it's going to give us a lot of fodder to talk about. I'm sure a lot of the Cam Newton haters will have a lot to say about it, and the Cam Newton supporters are glad to see his pretty face again, or his mug out there smoking them cigars. Tonight's show is QB's Done Dirty. I'm on the road, guys. I'm in Helen, Georgia, in the mountains of Helen, Georgia. So we're going to kind of have to gangster rig the calls. I'll play them off my phone. The number's 252-228-5098. CK's in the house. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, I'm happy to be here with the boys talking about some Panthers news. I mean, not really Panthers news, but maybe a little bit of Panthers news. And I feel like this is going to be heavily quarterback centric, and it's probably us talking about a lot of quarterbacks that aren't even Panthers quarterbacks anymore, or even ever were Panthers quarterbacks. Or
ever will be,
right? So we're gonna have some good discussions. And honestly, with the whole Cam Newton thing, I'm probably gonna have an opposite opinion to some of you guys. So let's keep it going.
Okay.
Tonight's show, you did say that we're going to be talking about cheerleaders and quarterbacks, and there are some legs on those stories. Hey, Greg, every time they say, Cody said it now, CK said it once, The Boys, all I can go to is my favorite show, The Boys on Amazon. I've been over the moon. I watched the first 2 seasons all over again, watched the first 3 episodes. The Boys, anytime that it makes my heart happy. And I got to say, don't be a cunt.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I said it before we got on her. Absolutely the best superhero show there is on television. Do not let your children watch it. It will blow you away. If you haven't seen any of it, I recommend it completely. It's an amazing show, and season 3 definitely delivers so far with the first 3 episodes. I'm blown away by it, but I'm actually more blown away by CK's hot take on Top Gun 1 right before we got on the show. Like, ooh, it's good stuff. But I'm glad you know the second one. That's awesome.
Before the show, we were discussing what we're watching, what we're doing, and we're talking about streaming services, things we're watching. Started with The Boys, then it went to Top Gun. CK's a big fan of the new one, and it turns out the whole internet is a big fan of the new one. I am really surprised that the internet has been, and I'm not trying to say that this was a bad movie, or I'm not going down that lane. I don't trust the internet when it's kind.
Right.
And I don't know why the internet has been so kind. I'm just used to them dumping on everything. I'm worried now. It's like the world's ending, that Maverick has united the people.
It's almost like Wonder Woman. Like you didn't know what was happening. It was like you couldn't find somebody who really had a lot of bad things to say about it. It's like, what's
Spider-Man was that way. I mean,
Spider-Man.
We've had quite a few movies that have been incredible movies, and it's probably because we have been accustomed to movies being just we're in a society now where of the miniseries as opposed to blockbuster movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we watch The Boys, really The Boys is a movie, right? Just a really long movie, and you see one sequel leading to the next and to the next. That's really the long form type of entertainment we've now become accustomed to. So when you see a movie like a Spider-Man, like Top Gun, or any of these movies that have been considered some of the greatest that have come out in the past decade, it's because they're doing things that they're getting us that same level of excitement, but doing it in a way that's still keeping us entertained for 2.5, 3 hours. And Top Gun did not fall short of that. I went into it with the expectation of, because I had seen all these incredible reviews, and I was thinking, I'm probably going to go in with an inflated idea of what it's going to be and come away disappointed. So I was a little bit kind of like, I was neutral going into it, but definitely excited. I don't like the first one. Like I watched the first one, I rewatched the first one, and it was okay. It was fine. It was just one of the weakest narratives that I've ever seen, right? Of an actual show or a movie. And this just absolutely destroyed. And so anybody interested in Top Gun, I highly recommend it.
I just gotta say I disagree. And mainly with your take on the first Top Gun than anything. So we'll save that discussion for later, and we'll kind of circle back and touch in on those things. Cody, the last 2 weeks have been arguably the quietest and slowest news weeks for the Carolina Panthers, and maybe the 8 years that I've covered them, or 10 years that we've been doing this podcast. This is usually something pops up, a story pops up. Something saved us this week. Cam Newton said, "What saved us last week?" Something happened. Oh, we talked about the show they have where the draft thing, whatever their insider show is, the Panthers do. What do we call it again?
Yeah, the Panthers Confidential.
Yeah. So we got that, but really not a lot going on. And really, I guess today, I saw it come out today. I don't know if it came out yesterday, this podcast, The Pivot. It's a cool podcast. Fred Taylor. What's the other guy? I don't know. I forget. Ryan Clark and Chowder.
Channing Crowder.
He's funny.
Yeah, listen, and look, so for those of you who haven't seen it, you have to go watch it. I've been following them for a long time now, and I want to give a little preface here. Tony, this is the proof that what we're doing is what we need to be doing, man. Podcasts in 2022 are undefeated. Not only are we just as legitimate as the other major networks, but we're even more legitimate, man. When people are able to come to podcasts like this, they spend hours listening to it. And that's why I love The Pivot, too, because it's former NFL players talking to NFL players about NFL things. So shout out to those guys. I think they're doing great. But, yeah, they had none other than Cameron Jarrell Newton on the latest edition of the Pivot podcast. And we're getting ready to I'm going to play a clip right here. And this is partly the reason for my thumbnail I threw together, this Cam Newton versus Baker Mayfield type of face-off. Because, yeah, while Baker Mayfield is still certainly in the question, that's another conversation to be had. Cam Newton and the rest of the guys got into a conversation about where does Cam Newton rank in the NFL right now? How many other quarterbacks are better than Cam Newton? And shout out to Channing, man, because he was willing to play the heel in this podcast. And he even kind of pushed back on Cam Newton a little bit more than we've ever kind of seen before. Let's look at a clip from that podcast.
And I said it, there's not 32 guys better than me.
You still feel the exact same.
Cam. On my soul.
Cam.
On my soul. On my soul. I couldn't.
Bro, look at his face.
You knew it was
I
coming.
couldn't wait. I couldn't wait.
You knew it was coming.
So ask your question and let's debate. Because at the end of the day, comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges, certain situations for certain situations. And if you think that I couldn't be on somebody's team right now, you a damn fool.
As a starter,
Man,
a starter, as a franchise, as a Super Bowl contender, bro, Cam, you are big as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be a quarterback, bro, you are a defensive end playing quarterback, bro. I love you. I draft you to my teams on Madden,
right?
And I trade for you,
right? We ain't talking
but
about
right
Madden.
now, bro,
real life.
you are 33 years old.
Yes, sir.
You done got old.
Yeah.
You're one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the world right now, Cam. I cannot accept that. I can't accept it.
That I'm not.
I saw what you did in New England.
Mm-hmm.
When you went back to Carolina, I saw what happened. Like the proof's in the pudding. Tell me.
So that's where the clip ends, and I'll get Cam Newton's response in a minute. But damn, man, dude, Channing really kind of laid into Cam Newton, and Cam kind of goes on to make his point. But I feel like it's a good discussion right now. Cam, he says, he's not a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. And he even went to Channing and he was like, everybody talks about top 5, top 10, but who's the bottom 5? Basically, like trying to say, are you going to tell me that those bottom 5 guys are better than me as an NFL player? What do y'all think, man? I'm gonna let y'all go on this in chat room. Y'all sound off too, man.
Well, I'll go ahead and give you my my opinion because like I said, I think I'm gonna probably have an opposite opinion to a lot of the people in chat. And I'm a known Cam lover. I think that there's some validity in Cam believing that he is better than the bottom 5, right? But people aren't looking for the bottom 5, right? They're not looking for a bottom 5 quarterback in the top 32, right? They're looking for that top 10. So they're not going to go after a guy who doesn't even have confidence that he's a top 10. Right. And it doesn't feel like Cam has that belief system just based on what we're seeing there. I don't know if we want to talk about what he said later on, but I felt like after watching a good portion of this, it made me cringe a little bit for Cam. I heard a lot of things that you don't normally hear from a quarterback about how it was other people's fault. Right. It was supporting cast. And then he had to back a minute, but you really saw his belief was that it wasn't my fault. And so I respect Channing's position on this. I don't think that it's an unfair question of whether Cam's the top 32. I think if you look at the bottom 5, I think Cam Newton certainly could be better than them, and I think he has a higher potential to be able to come back and his level of play in recent years. Or prior to the most recent years makes it worthy of him trying to get an opportunity. But again, are these people going to go out and try to pay for a veteran quarterback who is of Cam Newton's caliber, who is a bottom 5 in the league when it comes to quarterbacks?
All right.
I might to jump in on this, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, CK. It is. I could see why it's difficult for a team to jump into that. But Cody, you asked the question, is he better than the bottom 5? I'm just going by the NFL.com's ranking of starting quarterbacks this year. Bottom 5 are Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, David Mills, Justin Fields. Would you take Cam Newton over right now in the state everybody's in? I'm talking about future with like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Like right now, would you take Cam Newton over any of those 5 quarterbacks?
Sam Darnold, I would.
Say him again.
Justin Fields, David Mills, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson.
I would take him over Davis Mills. I would take him over maybe Zach Wilson too. But that's probably the
number 6 is
it.
Heineke. I would probably.
Heineke. I'd take him over. Yeah, I'd definitely take him over. Take him over Heineke, man.
So in that case, we still kind of consider him a bottom 5 quarterback. Because after that, it's been Roethlisberger, Daniel Jones.
So I want to play this clip of Cam, and then I want to delve into it a little bit further, right? So, and CK, you just kind of mentioned it, talking about Cam saying what was around him, and that, you know, there's a team element to this that he didn't feel was being fairly spoken of, and this is a little bit of that.
I put myself in another situation. I was signed on Thursday. I played on Sunday. Yeah. At what point did you think you was going to be successful? That next week I started. That's still up under 10 days of you being on a team. Right. And you're still trying to learn an offense. This is not a receiver. This is not a safety. This is not a left tackle. Right. This is a quarterback. So before I sit up here and allow the narrative to be made that Cam ain't got it no more, Cam is taking full responsibility and saying that Cam put himself in a fucked up situation, which then had a ricocheted effect to people thinking how you think, which I respect, because we all are entitled to our opinions. Right. I don't necessarily have to agree with it, nor should you or anybody else who watches this has to agree with it. But I'm saying I put myself in some situations thinking that, man, I'm Cam, bro. I'm bugged. All right. Now, Carolina, I put my
yeah, it started over. And that, so again, that's sort of what CK was talking about. And listen, it's tough if you're Cam Newton to say these things yourself, right? Because if you do, then now you're doing the thing that we didn't like it when Teddy Bridgewater did, right? When he was throwing teammates under the bus. But I'll be damned if we have not sat here for the past 4 years and have seen Cam Newton, and some of it is his fault, and he admits, for putting himself in situations where he is required to play Superman. And yeah, that was on him in the situation that he put himself in. But at the same time, this is what Cam Newton has essentially had to do since he was a Carolina Panther. He's had to put the teams on his back. And then when he didn't have the supporting cast around him, when everything else goes bad, Cam Newton is the one getting the brunt of the blame. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, Cam Newton played good last year, but I do think that he makes a damn good point that look at what he was asked to do. Coming in the middle of the season, he's not playing receiver. He's not playing offensive tackle. This man is the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, having to come in seemingly on a moment's notice. And by the way, are we then going to pretend like that didn't add a whole nother spark of excitement to that Carolina Panthers season last year? It's like, I definitely think that Cam Newton is better than the past few seasons have given him credit for.
Right.
And I really believe that. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to get another chance. Cam does kind of seem resigned to the fact that maybe he is going to be someone who's just a business owner from now on. But he talks about that drive to still want to perform. So I hope he gets the opportunity. But Tony, I just don't know if he will.
To be fair, he didn't throw anybody under the bus just now.
Right. Not in that one.
Yeah, no, I didn't see the other ones, but in that one right there,
who did he throw under the bus? Okay, who would you say he threw under the bus?
He said he basically was saying that there were other people that didn't live up to the I guess to their end of the bargain.
Is that false?
It's not. But how often have you seen a come out there and blame other people?
Well,
right. And when it happened with somebody like Teddy Bridgewater, we
see it all the time. Actually, I think we see quarterbacks throw people under the bus all the time, or at least even if we don't see quarterbacks do it, we see general managers do it. We see coaches do it. And I don't really think, I think like taking one minor small comment of just saying like, hey, I didn't do well, but like the rest of the team also stunk, is not really throwing people under the bus as much as it's just kind of saying, hey, don't forget the Carolina Panthers stunk. The Patriots were not the Patriots you're used to.
Did you not?
It's not like, oh, you just stepped in. But I do agree. I think you put it very well, CK, is that the league isn't looking for a bottom 532. Right. Especially with Cam Newton, you know, is and the sad thing here for me, this is why I've been opposed. I was not for bringing Cam back last year. right? When we brought him in, like, yeah, I got excited that he was there because I love Cam. I'm gonna cheer for him, but I didn't want that to be an out, right?
Right.
It's like Cam Newton gets, they hang all of that on Cam. Like the idea, it's just like, hey, I'm tired of us misusing and abusing Cam, so I don't want to bring him back and then not do him wrong.
Yeah.
So there's something to that, but here's the thing: is he didn't say he doesn't believe in himself right now. That's the problem. That's my concern. Is the Cam Newton that if Cam Newton really had anything left in the tank, like something significant, he would not be talking in terms of I'm bottom 5. He would not be, he probably wouldn't even engage in those conversations, period, but just saying, put me in, I'm ready to start. And I'm ready to take, he's not even talking about, he's not even trying to say I can take a team to the playoffs, it's a Super Bowl or nothing like that. He's like, can I play?
I'm better than the worst 5 is what he's,
Yeah, and it is, it almost seems like, and look, his Cam made a mistake. He was right. Is like and he said that's like Boogie thinks he can do those things. Like he thinks like he's put himself in those situations of coming to the Panthers on the spur of the moment, letting Matt Rhule try to tell him we got a good defense and that there might be an opportunity for us to do something here. Right. He bought into that, and that was almost to the kind of idea of like a boxer who's past his prime, still thinking they can get it done. I'm worried about that. I was worried. Another thing that kind of worried me, or he was talking about, what do you think when he talked about the New England experience? All right. So they talked specifically about the New England experience. And he said, look, I mean, and it had to do with the COVID stuff, right? He wasn't allowed to practice, I think, with the team. He joined them late and some different stuff. But he said 7-8 weeks into the season, he's still learning the playbook, countless hours. He said that countless hours with this, countless. What did you guys interpret of that? Was that a New England making things more complicated than it should have been, or is that a 10-year-old vet who you would think be faster to come along at that time?
Remember, and just to add to this conversation, though, remember that there was the COVID issues, and Cam caught COVID, and he started out hot, caught COVID, then he had to come back, and there was that not being in buildings and stuff that he went through. So I think that it's shaded with that as well. But go ahead, CK.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, the only issue I have with that mindset is we didn't give Teddy Bridgewater that same level of a break, right? And I know that he didn't have he didn't miss games or anything like that, but he also didn't have a preseason, right? I mean, and what I mean by that, they didn't have OTAs, they didn't have all of these installs and we didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, right? And the problem I had with this, and this is where I felt like it was cringeworthy for me, and me being a Cam supporter, guys, keep that in mind. I think a lot of people are going to listen to this and think that I'm a Cam hater. It just felt like one excuse after another for Cam. I put myself in, like, even when he said I put myself in a fucked up situation, that almost felt as though he was using that as an excuse for why he played so bad, right? Or the circumstances behind that. The New England experience, another excuse. People not holding up to their end of the bargain, another excuse, right? It just felt like there was nothing that felt like it was. I mean, I'm not gonna say nothing. Like there was some accountability, but even just when there was accountability, it was almost like a side, like it was an accountability, but also here's why it wasn't me that was really at fault. And that's what I had a bit of an issue with. It just felt like there was a lot of responsibility thrown everybody else's direction. And I'm not sure that he really shouldered a lot of that blame.
But I don't think this was Cam's most endearing conversation.
But also, what's Cam Newton supposed to say? Like, listen, his entire argument in that podcast is that the numbers in the last 2 years that I have played are not a reflection of who I am as a football player. And by the way, if you don't put a little bit of the blame on the entirety of the football team, well, then now we're going back to, well, quarterback is the difference between a win and a loss, when we all know that it takes an entire team to win a football game.
Right.
Obviously, and another reason why I'm not tripping out on this, CK, is like, when have we ever mentioned, even close, of Cam Newton throwing a teammate under the bus? Like,
Right,
Cam has
right.
never, he's never throwing teammates under the bus.
Agreed.
So, but with that same notion, and I thought that he was being very candid, CK. I thought what he was saying was, I was naive to believe that I could walk into this situation and be their knight in shining armor,
Right.
and I would come in and save the day. That was foolish on my part, because clearly this team didn't have all the proper pieces to be a legitimate contender.
Right.
And I think that's what Cam Newton was trying to say, is that, yeah, maybe he put himself in some bad situations, but nevertheless, there were some bad situations, and we're not going to pretend like the Panthers quarterback position isn't where quarterbacks go to die the past few years in the NFL.
All right, here I agree. Well, first is like the part about Cam talking about his circumstances in Carolina, the circumstances in New England as context, right? Is I didn't have a problem with, right? I didn't really. So I'm kind of in between you and CK on this, right? In the middle on this is like, hey, I mean, this was maybe a little bit more excuse making Cam than we're accustomed to. Right. Or saying those things. Maybe it's candid, maybe it's excuses. The part that I have a problem with, or is kind of is not off-putting, is just unbecoming to, like, it's not my Cam anymore. It's like, I don't want, it's like, you know what, you can put that context, but what I want to hear Cam say is, with the right circumstance, under good circumstances, I got enough left in this league to surprise y'all folks, to make y'all think otherwise, to not say, oh, I could be in the bottom 5. I still got years in me.
Right.
Now, if you want to say you don't want Cam Newton because you're trying to think about building an organization and looking for the future. So if you want a Mac Jones, you want a Justin Fields, you want a Trevor Lawrence because of that future potential, then I understand how people could have concerns with me being 33 years old and not having my best football in my past two seasons. But if you're talking about on any given Sunday in the next year, 2, 3 years, I'm going to be in this league and I'm a starting quarterback and I can help teams get to where they want to get. I didn't hear that dog anymore. And I almost feel like it's Cam is coming to turn. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I just don't need that. That's what I wanted to hear. I mean, I don't want to hear it. I don't need to tell him what to think. Is this and that is like one of the things that when he said, and they were talking about how there's no black backup quarterbacks, like Chase Daniels, like these guys that make a living holding a clipboard, which is a fair point. But there actually is one right now who's making a living holding a clipboard, Geno Smith. So there is one who has been a decade long.
Isn't Bridgewater playing for Miami?
Right. I mean, but yeah, like a decade-long backup black quarterback. But the thing is those people too, the Chase Daniels know who they are. Right? Like those people have those guys on the team, not because they really think that those guys are any good, but they just think that, man, if he has to take 4 snaps for us, we could do that. He's cheap. He's going to be quiet. He's going to do this. It's like, it's not like it's kind of hard to be an in-between starter. You know, like you're on the edge of being a starter, but you're really a backup. It's like a weird person to have. And he did mention this, is that if you have me on your team, there's a lot that comes with it. Because, look, I tell you, Cam looks good in a football uniform. Once anybody that's why you can't bring him in here. That's why you can't bring him in here. One bad play, everybody's like, we got to put Cam in. We got to put Cam in. We got to put Cam in.
So, okay, let's do this. I mean, y'all see the thumbnail I got. I did the boxing, table sit down. If you had to choose, right? Because listen, I think if you listen to Twitter, where there's smoke, there's fire. If the Panthers have an opportunity to upgrade their quarterback room by another player, I think they're gonna do it. Now, this whole thing with Deshaun Watson just continues to get crazier and crazier.
Right.
But now it's looking like he might not play a game this season if the NFL suspends him for the whole thing. So
they have to make a decision.
With,
the NFL has to decide. They cannot keep just prolonging this and prolonging this.
Yeah, but like let's go to the inevitable conclusion to this. Who would you prefer to come in and compete for the starting job? Baker Mayfield or Cam Newton?
Cam Newton.
Is this for 1 year? For 1 year or two, or foreseeable future?
I don't even know, Greg. Like if they brought one of them in, if it's a year or I mean, yeah, I guess just say it's a year. Like if you're gonna add someone to this room to compete this year, who is it?
Cam.
Because I'm not hearing a lot of Cam Newton love.
That's a good point, CK. There's other factors.
There's other factors because the Baker Mayfield aspect of it depends. Are we doing a straight up trade with Baker Mayfield being a part of that and Sam Darnold being out the window and we getting rid of that, basically taking that 18 mil and then just kept calling it a wash? And then that way we're not taking any more cap hit? Or are we talking about signing Cam, keeping Sam Darnold? Then we're having that extra hit on the cap space, or because Baker Mayfield might also be a draft pick that we have to worry about giving away, right? If they decided that if it's not a straight up trade, which is likely not going to be, I don't think they're going to just say, "Hey, take Baker for no draft capital, and we're going to take all the extra costs for it," right? So that's where I think the moving parts comes into play, and it also is contingent upon what Cam Newton is going to demand. Cam Newton has a right to ask for money, right? How much are we going to be willing to see value in what he's doing? I'd prefer Cam Newton in a vacuum with none of the other aspects involved. I'd want Cam Newton because I would want Matt Corral to see what a real leader looks like on this team.
And go ahead.
My answer is neither.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, neither might work, but just adding on what CK says real quick, if you ever did that trade with just straight up Sam Darnold for Baker, there'd be no point in signing Cam Newton. Why? Why spend the extra money? You just added new competition, new youth. I feel, Baker Mayfield's a change up from I still almost said Teddy Bridgewater.
The answer for me is neither. One, because like we know this is that the way that Cam's talking about himself is that like there is a short shelf life already on his career, right? Not only is there kind of a question mark about what is left in it and what it could be, but like even in the terminology that people use, and like the end is nearer than it should be in some ways. Baker, the worst thing that could happen is he'd be good, kind of good.
Right.
Kind of good, where he's too good to let walk, but not good enough to be happy with. And that's going to cause a problem. So it's like, I think that like the only thing that we have going that's going to help us really move the needle for our organization is the hope of the future. And that is the Mac Jones, the Justin Fields, now in this case, the Matt Corral. It's not what they do today that is exciting. It's what they could be, right? And I think the Baker Mayfield and the Cam Newton is what they are right now is the most exciting part. And that's just not the best fit for us at the moment. I don't know. Like it's to me, it's like I don't know like which one. Like first is like I would personally like Cam over Baker because I love Cam, and he can run the ball and he's big and he's awesome. But at the same time, Baker, he's been all right at some times. Is like this is like it's just none of these are these are answers, but they're not the answer for us. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. And really, I got to say, I just want to circle back to Cam real quick. I'm okay. Look, is he a typical Cam misspeaking like the words? He makes humanistic errors. I like that one. He said, "People think I might be bolsterous." Instead of, he said, "I had to learn these enunciations in 3 days." I like that one. And he always refers to his aesthetic. But I'm okay. The Cam, like I can pierce through the Cam language and the Cam analogies and understand what he's trying to say. I didn't really understand his bottom five conversation as much. I didn't like that. And I kind of get the sense that Cam has got so much money, recognition, fame. Like he's entered a point where it's like, I don't really give a fuck anymore. Like about what y'all want, what anybody wants. And it's kind of like borderline becoming like rich and out of touch.
I mean, also he hasn't really made the most money with football the past few years. I feel like most of his money has come from other business ventures.
Right.
And by the way, he
which are not
about
guaranteed, by the way. Look, I hope it does his business is great. I hope they do great, but there's been like just because your businesses are not losing right now doesn't mean they're always going to be around. But hopefully it sounds like he's been managing, at least he's confident in the way he's managed his money whatever.
You don't think he learned that from the NFL though?
But it's pretty much the mindset that he has going forward, and it's not that, I don't know, Tony, you kind of feel like he doesn't believe in himself anymore. I kind of feel like Cam, but without saying it, because again, I mean, CK even came away with the fact that, he felt like Cam was kind of throwing people under the bus. So inevitably, maybe Cam couldn't come out and say so in so many words, but it is sort of like what you said, Tony. If you put me on a good football team and give me an opportunity, I feel like Cam still believes in himself enough to do that. In my opinion, the difference between Cam Newton and Baker Mayfield, I'm going to be real with you. I've seen Cam Newton play at an elite level behind a really good offensive line. I've never seen Baker Mayfield play at an elite level, and there has been at least 2 seasons that he's had a very good offensive line. And Greg, he was good, but and like 2 seasons ago. But Baker Mayfield has never been an elite football player. The question is that you're having to ask, is Cam Newton so beat up and old and washed up that this iteration, whoever he is now, is worse than the player that we would be trading for in Baker Mayfield? And I don't know how wide the gap is right there. Baker Mayfield has never proven trustworthy behind a really good offensive line that wasn't running the ball more than 50% of the time.
I want to look up his stats real quick because I'm not saying
that year. They did have a good running attack, but he was really good that first year of Stefanski. Mm-hmm. Look, I don't think we need to debate the point between look, is that Cam was in a stratosphere as a football player that Baker Mayfield never was. Agreed. Even when he was even when he was getting the Heisman, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's not in the same conversation, right? It's like and I'm not trying to take away from Baker Mayfield. It's actually not trying to be a disrespect. It's just like Cam was in this stratosphere at one point and really for like through that junior college to Auburn to number 1 pick to Super Bowl, right? Is that Baker Mayfield has got the number 1 pick, and I think he won a Heisman too. So they got that, but like Cam has just been on so it's like kind of a weird conversation to have. I did think this is that boy, Cam likes to talk. When I watch this podcast, bro, is that those are the Channing Crowder guy is a big personality. Like they didn't even get a word in this podcast, dude. Like he just was pontificating the whole time. and I don't know what to glean from that. I don't know, man. I think Cam is really. I think a lot of things he's saying are disguise or deflection for he really is dealing with his mentals about becoming human. He's like Homelander, dude.
Yeah.
He's Homelander. Is that right now? Is that all the other people are getting all the press? He's
Zero
just
F's left.
God.
That's what it is.
I thought I don't want to do all negative, or at least I mean I haven't been negative. I wanted Cam. To me, that just said something that he wasn't saying. Hey, I wouldn't even put myself in the bottom 5. Like I would want to be saying like I'm a legitimate quarterback,
right,
and ready to go, and then not get into. He's kind of doing what we do. Right. And
right.
like, let us have that conversation. Let us rank the top 5 quarterbacks. Let us rank the worst 5 starters in the league. Let us defend Cam about his situation with COVID, this and that. Cam, you just come out there and say, I still got it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you say it.
Oh, yeah.
One other thing he did say is he continued to say he screwed up by putting himself in an effed up situation over and over. Would you argue that he is on the course to doing that again, potentially?
Yep.
Like, wouldn't you, if that's the case, then you know what? Cam should go to a team that's got a great quarterback and say, I am happy to sit in case this guy gets hurt. And if this guy gets hurt, I want to go in and compete. Or I want to just be cheap and ready, but I want to have a legitimate shot to have a full camp to compete, doing this and that. I feel like, I don't know if Cam is really maybe selling himself to the best situation, but potentially selling himself to another kind of difficult situation for him to win in the end. And the last thing I did say, what do you guys think about that, actually, before we go on my last point about Cam Newton?
No, I think he might be what we were talking about. He could just be at that point where he's like, well, I can play for the Panthers or I can be done with football. Either way, I'm cool with it, you know?
Yeah. I did think Fred Taylor brought in a great point, and kind of like recentered Cam after this long discussion about him being in the bottom 5 and, all this. As Fred Taylor said, sometimes we talk about all the things you didn't become, not him, but he's like, we can get hung up on what didn't be, what wasn't was. And that is no Super Bowl ring, this trouble, but to think about your accomplishments, your successes, that I thought was interesting. Is like, dude, you won a college national championship, a junior college national championship, a Heisman Trophy, MVP, took the team to the league. You were an icon. You did become an icon. These are all things that, like, I want to see Cam talk. Maybe I want to think about his successes more than his failures.
Right.
There is. Yeah. He almost failed again, though, bro. He almost had a mega disaster on this podcast. Did anybody catch it?
Well, when you went over the women thing again?
Yeah.
I mean, I heard a lot of him reiterating what he has said before about, being a woman and what you should expect if you're a certain kind of woman. But I feel like he's already been controversial about that. Like, what are they going to do? Say it again about him? Like,
he said that, what was it? Is that these teams came in and he said what did he call himself? He said, but there's another synonym that I could have used. God, what was it? Shoot, I meant to write. I wrote down notes too. And the one thing I want to talk about, he said he's like, basically that these teams have treated, he almost said they treated me like a bitch. I mean, he almost said it. And I was like, oh God, Cam, that's going to ruin the whole thing again.
So he ain't coming back to Carolina, right?
I mean, I don't, dude. Like, if you're the Panthers, I don't think this interview sours you from signing Cam Newton. How does it sour you any more than Baker Mayfield going on a podcast and never mentioning the Panthers one time as one of the teams that he'd be interested in even going to? Like, the Panthers are literally the first option for not a one football team, dude. Literally not a one. By the way, for those in the chat room, I put up a poll. Who would you rather, Cam Newton or Baker Mayfield? So vote on that if you're in the chat. Go ahead, Greg.
I think the difference is, though, with the question you just asked about how it's different with Baker Mayfield not showing interest, is we know Baker Mayfield wants to play football. This is bringing up questions of whether Cam's heart is even into playing football anymore, is what it seems like. So that's where I would see a little bit of difference right there.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Is that Cam, man, it's tough. It's really tough to make Cam a backup quarterback. It just is, because the whole time you're sitting there, especially on a team where you don't trust your quarterback.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's one thing if he's like a backup in Green Bay and you're like, oh, okay, right, a backup in to Patrick Mahomes right now or something like that. But when you can't be Sam Darnold's backup. You just can't, because like we're all sitting there going, no, that car runs better than that car. We need to take that car. We're going to get more dates that way. So the Cam thing was, boy, he is, I mean, Cam is Cam, man. I tell you that he's still large. His personality is giant. It's not like everything about him is bigger than life. And that is what made him so great for so long too. So hearing him on these, you know, it was nice, this long form, very candid. You're right, man. That might have been one of the most casual conversations or more open conversations you're going to hear from Cam. How about this? Is imagine if, don't you think the Crowder guy, if he was white, do you think he could have said that to Cam? I think being black helped. I think it helped soften the blow for Cam to hear that from somebody. If like he was on our show and somebody pushed back and said, Cam, you're 33, you're old. And even if we were a former football player, I think that softened the blow of those words in his ears.
Well, and I think he also knows what the pivot is. Like you become aware of those guys. You know that if you're going on there, you're going to talk some real shit. And you're going to be honest and you're going to be very blunt. And if you've seen it before, Channing likes to go at him. Like he likes to play that devil's advocate. And good on him, man, because that's what makes the content. Like that's part of the reason why we're talking about this tonight. Tony, you were wondering why I some of my tweets on Twitter go viral. And it's kind of for the same thing that Channing does. Dude, you have to be willing to fucking kick the bee's nest every once in a while, you know? And Channing is really good at that. And I feel like
he told Charles Haley, he was the one that made the jerking off joke to Charles Haley, because Charles Haley was notorious for being like weird and jerking off in team meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he brought it up right away. It was like the first thing he said to him was like, we got to know you ain't going to jerk off around us, right? So,
yeah, man. So,
all right. So,
and my tweets do go viral. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Panda.
Cody's had a couple that have taken off.
Hey, you need to peep my Twitter game, son. Shit, my Twitter fingers are on point. You dig?
All right. But, so, the number's 252-228-5098. Red's 252-228-5098. What else we got to go to next?
Well, so, yeah, we have a big topic of discussion that everybody's going to be very interested in. I'm sure everybody's going to have a great time with it. But before we do it, listen, man, we have a bunch of people who tune into this show to hear us talk about the Panthers. But we also have a bunch of freaks and weirdos who love to hear the voice that makes them moist. Shame them like the bad little children that they've been. CK. Talk to them, Big Papa.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, also boys
who have become girls and maybe become Panthers cheerleaders. Welcome in. You guys have been watching all night, all off season, enjoying this content that we somehow find a way to continue to bring to you week in and week out. You come in here, you get that nice little cup. You got your cup out, you're ready to get it filled, and you get it filled, but you haven't hit that like button yet. I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks. Subscriber shame.
Subscriber shame. 140 people watching, 54 thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like, hit that subscribe for all your Panthers news and opinions for every single time the C3 podcast goes live. Hey man, you know this is where we're at all year round, off season. It doesn't matter, man. C3 is gonna hold you down no matter what. Tony,
with consent.
Yeah, for sure, definitely, always.
We're gonna hold you down with consent.
For sure. Let's jump in to this discussion. Let me go ahead and pull this up. The Carolina Panthers have hired the first transgender cheerleader in NFL history. I'm trying to find a picture that the wording isn't so crass, but here we go. Her name is Justine. She is the first transgender cheerleader, and she is belonging to the Carolina Panthers, man. She's our cheerleader. She cheers for the Panthers.
Are you sure that's the name? I thought it said Lindsay on the profile.
Justine Lindsay is her name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Justine Lindsay. And listen, we're gonna have a mature conversation about this. I want to preface this with no one at the C3 podcast means any harm or any ill intention towards any person for any reason whatsoever, man. You know, this is just an open discussion, and that's what we're gonna do here, man. We don't shy away from any topic. We're gonna have the discussion here, man. That's what we do. So, yeah, I'll open up the discussion. Tony, what do you want to take?
Yeah, I want to preface, I guess, this is I don't want to, I think when anybody says we're not trying to do this, we're not trying, you want to be careful that you're not then setting that up to do those things. Like, no offense.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The one thing I do want to just, I hope that people can at least give me a little grace is sometimes I'm not as adept with the correct terminology. Right? Like the right words to use all the time. And I hope that if I ever misspeak on, the kind of terminology, like if I pull a Cam and say, I didn't even didn't even learn my enunciations yet, that should just give me some grace on that. Is that, that is not meant to whatever the right terms are, gaslight, whatever. I don't know the hip to the terminology all the time. I want to say that. The only thing I've got to say about this is, to me, is this more of a nothing story? What is a bigger nothing burger, this story or the David Tepper bankruptcy story that every YouTuber talked about? Man, you are dry for some content when that's like, oh my God, rich people doing rich shit. Like, this is, to me, it doesn't bother me nor excite me, it's like not that big of a deal to me. But I also don't pay attention to the cheerleaders at these games a lot, if anything. And so I don't really care if that's what they want to do and that's what this young lady wants to do, then good for them.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Tony. It doesn't really matter to me. I never look at them signing or who the cheerleaders are every year. I'm not 13 anymore. I don't really go for really caring about the cheerleaders. I wouldn't even notice they totally took the cheerleaders away and were gone. Not now. That being said, congratulations. It's awesome for them. I have my own feelings about certain things like this, but it has nothing to do with this. That's fine. Put it in there. If best person for the job, awesome. Congratulations. But it doesn't move the needle for me either way.
This is
you could have said that for any cheerleader and I wouldn't have cared.
So
this is the only time we've talked about the Top Cats. There's only been one other time.
Yeah.
There's only been one other time in the history of this team did we talk about the Top Cats, and it was when the two lesbian Top Cats doing blow in the bathroom got in a fist fight with somebody who was beating on their door for telling them to hurry up. This was like on the road back in the early 2000s. These two cheerleaders who had a relationship with each other were in the stall doing lines of coke off the back of the toilet.
Yeah.
And somebody's banging on the door because there's like a line, and they're like, hurry the fuck up. And then they came out and like got in a fist fight. That was the only other time we've talked about the Top Cats. So hey, once in a decade we talk about the cheerleaders. We are interested in those dudes in tight pants.
Yeah, dude. We're interested in the male underwear Olympics, right? The combine. But no, listen. Like the reason why I don't have a problem with this is because there is no competition. I mean, male and female cheerleaders already exist, so that gender boundary line has already been, we've already gone past that.
Right.
So to me, this is almost like a natural extension of that. However, and I don't even think that, a lot of this gets labeled as transphobic. But to me, where you go into the realm of outrageous is when, you have trans women competing against normal women and saying that it's a fair competition. Now, I can say that it's not a fair competition and also not hate trans people in the same breath. I believe everybody should be able to live their life as they want to. But for us not to speak on this with a shred of logic, it's like, well, what are we doing here? But that's not the situation that we're talking about. Right. I mean, we're talking about cheerleading. So that's why this is kind of more of a nothing burger to me. I understand a lot of people, and I won't necessarily go deep on this, but a lot of people feel like, the traditional gender roles in our society are being attacked one way or another. And this is a part of like a woke liberal agenda, and I understand why a lot of people think that. A lot of this is more prevalent now in today's world than ever before. But to me, this doesn't feel like I'm being beaten over the head with this, or that they're pushing some kind of agenda.
How about that? All of those things you just said are all true. It is, one is that, look, if you want to talk about like kids, I think somebody said this girl could be twerking in front of a child in the top. Like, what kind of message is that sending? If this is a morality thing, then we should probably start talking about the way we use those cheerleaders in general.
Right.
And what they symbolize as and what messages that sends to your kids and to our society. So like, I don't want to go there, because then let's not walk down that road, because you're walking down the Deshaun Watson road at that point. Is like what that celebrates in a way. It doesn't celebrate their humanity. It's sexualizing people and it's doing all those things. The other thing is I do think that there is a woke agenda. Like, I would say woke agenda. I think this is that the Panthers, or maybe not just the Panthers, but I feel like people use these things to capitalize on them more than really caring about them. So like, it's like now AMC's like streaming Pride Week, right? Or something like this.
Everyone's doing it.
I mean, I don't know if they really, it's like the veterans, it's the pink, how they care about cancer.
Yeah,
they say it's like cancer or the veteran. Like, I don't know if these are really authentic and genuine. I almost feel like the Panthers, it's just like good PR for them, rather than them truly advancing some liberal agenda. And then my last point is I don't get threatened by this whole idea about gender roles being this and that. I'm Catholic. You're not supposed to have abortions, right? You could get we believe in the sanctity of life and all of this. But what I'm just going to say at the end of the day is, like, I'm not going to encourage my wife to get an abortion. Right?
Right.
I don't really care what other people are doing. I'm not going to go and have a gender reassignment surgery. So this person having a gender reassignment, whatever they're doing in their life, does not threaten my masculinity.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, like, I feel like I'm pretty confident how I feel about myself still. So I don't think like marriage, like I think they use that same thing. Like it was like, oh man, if we let gay people get married, there won't be any more straight marriages in the whole world. And you're like, that's not true.
Dude, I literally had someone make the argument to me one time that if we let same-sex marriage happen, then what? People are going to be allowed to marry their pets and their animals?
Oh, yeah, we're all just going to go gay.
Yeah,
we're all going to just turn it. You're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Now that there's no rules, I'm going to go murder people. Oh, now, like,
yeah, dude, it's so stupid. It is crazy, man. And but I started some comments here. Lynn, shout out to Lynn. She put she, they are all capable of being amazing. Panther Blue says, Cody, transgender women are normal. That's the point. We need to start realizing this is normal in nature. There are many different sexual identities, and none of which I disagree with, man. I understand shit is a spectrum. And then this is a good.
Oh, dang.
He accidentally left.
Yep.
He got booted. The internet sanctioned him. Now, I do have more. See, I have more questions than opinions on these things. I want to put that out there. Is like,
it was the one that just got nuked.
Yeah, you got kicked out. You said something the internet didn't like.
Can I just add on to what he was talking about there with that particular comment in specifically from Panther Blue about transgender women are normal. That's the point. We need to start realizing this is normal in nature and there are different sexual identities. You're allowed to believe whichever you want. I'm not saying you were right or you were wrong. It doesn't matter either way. However, whichever you believe, you need to accept that this is here and it's what it is. That does not mean that every aspect of life has to involve a part of this. People who are straight don't walk around and you know what I'm saying? Like people of different aspects of life don't walk around and identify, this is what I identify as in my life. Everything about my life has to be about this. It's not the way life works. So representation, 100% agree. Identifying whatever you want to identify as, do what you want to do. It doesn't mean that everything in the world has to change to represent something, because not everything represents everything.
Right. And that's
my biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. There's a lot of people who feel like the gender norms and the way that we all grew up believing, the binary world to be male and female, it isn't that way anymore. And there's a big discussion to be had about this type of stuff. I just hope that people can continue to have mature conversations about it, because we don't see the good in people anymore. Like we put everyone on a team. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to judge this cheerleader just because they're transgender. They might be a great person. Mm-hmm. I don't know this person, so therefore I'm not in a position to judge someone based on that alone. But it doesn't mean that there can't be a nuanced conversation about how this thing is being presented at large, how it's being presented to children. I think is always a good topic of discussion that probably needs more happening.
I have more questions than I have answers about these things, right? Like, I don't have like these beliefs that first I usually am trying to judge my own behavior more than other people's behavior. That's what I'm like trying to focus on, is like, I don't do a lot of shit right in my life. So I'm worried about that more than what you do wrong in your life. I mean, I have questions more than answers about a lot of these different things. And to me, if I have one honest question I could ask people who are so confident in their beliefs about transgender, like all of these factors or whatever this is, whatever this conversation we're having. Again, I don't know the terminology as probably as well as I need to even be discussing it. The only thing I get concerned about is people making such large decisions about their life and their future at such a young age. Mm-hmm. So like the hormone stuff, that like supporting
ditto.
Like when I see things like it'll be like support like I saw a commercial. It was like trans teenagers. Like we need to think and care about them, and I thought. I just thought, I mean, like you're just trying to learn yourself as a human. I feel like I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck I am, and I'm 40. You know, is like I think that it's just strange to put so much weight on a decision making early. I understand that you got to get ahead of the curve before your hormones get kicking in too, if you're gonna, you know, to alleviate some of the different things that or adversity challenges or whatever, but. Like when I was 12 years old, I also like made dumbass fart jokes. And, you know, I mean, I just don't know how people have such a good, strong grasp about what is right, what is wrong, what is in this case, or, you know, like who they are at such a young age.
If kids knew what they wanted at that young age, we'd have a bunch of cowboys and princesses. As professions, to be truly honest with you. Look, when you're that young,
would be cowboys, and all the cowboys would be princesses.
when you're that young, you don't have the hormones in your body to have the thoughts that they're claiming people have. And I'm not a scientist. I'm just saying I know for a fact you don't have those hormones developed in your body to have those thoughts. That's just me. I know that. Okay. They also don't show these kids that they're putting this stuff to. These stories of kids who have gone through this and gotten older and realized the stuff they can never, ever do again or never had the opportunity to do. Or, hey, guess what? 6 years later, I felt different and it's too late. I'm not saying everybody feels that way, but they don't tell those stories to the kids.
I mean, you're not allowed to buy cigarettes if you're below the age of 18. You're not allowed to go to war.
You have to call parents permission to give a kid aspirin.
Yeah,
you
can
teach them about this. You should not for buying kids cold medicine.
Yeah,
I was with my daughter. I was with my daughter, who I picked up this from school, and I stopped and bought her a Mucinex kids cold and flu medicine. And I went to the self checkout. It's like, boom, you have an age restricted item. This old lady comes up, and she said, "Can I see your ID?" I said, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, I wasn't trying to even be. I was like, "Oh, look, don't be jerk, Tony. Don't be jerk. Who really cares?" But I was like, are you serious? I'm 40 years old. I got an 11-year-old kid with me. There's clearly nothing nefarious going on. We're not going to go mix this with Sprite and get fucked up.
Yeah. And like, you know, having a child make that decision for themselves. Again, I
don't know what the answer is. I got questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like you should wait until you are older before you make a permanent decision about something like that, something you can't reverse, you know?
And by the way, then once you turn 18, dude, get 9 gender reassignment surgeries, you know? It's like, and I understand too, if you feel like you're in the wrong body and then you start going through puberty as the wrong sex. Look, I'll be very candid with y'all, man. Like growing up as a disabled dude, I know what it's like to look in the mirror growing up and see a body that I felt would fail to represent me on that day. So that's why, you know, a lot of times I do empathize with trans people. You know, it is tough to kind of feel trapped in a physicality that you don't feel like you belong in. And that is tough, you know? And I feel like that gets lost in the conversation when people are like, oh, well, they're pushing all this LGBT stuff on us. And yeah, dude, maybe they are. But at the same time, everybody's just people. Everybody's trying to live their life. Everybody's trying to make it to the next day. And I'm telling you, when you stop seeing the humanity in other people, even the people who disagree with you vehemently, then you're continuing all the same negative cycles that continue in our world today.
You better be careful. That's almost exactly what Gina Carano said, and they canceled her. Watch out. They're going to cancel you, buddy.
Well, you know, you guys were talking about the Gervais guy and his stand-up. He's got the one where he said, I identify as a chimp. And then he like acted like it was like so ridiculous. But I saw somebody I saw a couple, you see the kind of typical comments, or they're not typical. That's the wrong way of saying it. I don't want to reduce their comments either, like dismiss them. But like, where's the straight guys month? Where is this? Where is that?
Yeah.
You do have to remember, or I think it's helpful to remember, like, you can't like it's like when your day is every day, you can't be like, where's my day?
But you
It's
can't.
like, I mean, like, is this
No, but
his
you can't
day?
say your day is every day. You don't celebrate being straight and white every
A
day.
straight,
Like I mean, like
it's a world
there's no,
where
like come on.
it's a
A straight
world
white
just
awareness month.
it's a
Yeah, like come
world
on.
where being, I mean, theoretically, for the last 500 years, being male, being white has been an advantage, and straight,
Okay.
right? Like those are not like weaknesses in the social landscape, right? Go watch The Little Dicky. It's a good day to be a white guy, and it's just like, hey, so it's like it does. I always do get. You got to remember is like people when they get offended and they're like, man, we've been persecuting you for 500 years, but now my dad is a little bit like this. It's like, it's a bad day to be a white man. And I'm like,
Right.
wait a second here. Wait a
Like,
second. So
I
it's
don't
like,
think so.
oh, well, gay people have been like socially persecuted for the last 5,000 years or 2,000 years in our society. And now it's like, oh, why they got to put the gay banner on AMC? It's like I turned on Hulu and it's like South Asian Pacific. Like it was like that's a category. I was like, what?
And like also in today's world, you're gonna make someone mad no matter what. Like if the Panthers, and the NFL, if they didn't do anything for gay and trans people, they would be labeled the worst homophobes and
100%.
bigots, and you have to have inclusivity. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think inevitably you're going to make people upset. So you just have to kind of pick a lane. And like I said, out of all the issues in today's world surrounding transgender people, this one has to be near the bottom of the list. Like it's I said, there are already men and women cheerleaders. To me, it's kind of it's a
nothing burger, kind of how we started
nothing
out.
burger, yeah.
And I don't really care. Actually, I don't care at all. I also was a little stunned that so many people were upset by the David Tepper declaring bankruptcy. His building company that he formed to build that Rock Hill Center.
Right.
I was a little surprised that the internet, particularly the Panthers YouTubers, I almost thought do these guys really give a shit about this? And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to talk junk about the people that do the same thing we do, right? Like having the same shows and what I mean? Like I bet you guys talked about it on the Friday free for all. It's just like, are you talking about that? Because I haven't watched their shows either on it. I just saw them going live. I get notifications when everybody's doing shit. And are you talking about it because you really think it's upsetting to you about David Tepper and this and that? Or is it because there's nothing else to talk about? Is that the real reason?
To talk about.
I mean, like no news.
What else is he supposed to do if he has no plans for this business to be a business? Like why? Like what's the point in maintaining that business? Like if he developed it for the Rock Hill development, like if that's what he created it for, like what? It's not like he's filing bankruptcy on his entire, like as a human being on the face of the planet. He's basically dissolving the company. Like that's
the problem. All right, so I think that the problem is lost on a lot of people is they're outraged that this billionaire gets to quit this project in their eyes. They don't, these are people that are obviously kind of not seeing Rock Hill's, like they're kind of on Team Rock Hill, clearly. But also, I think the real conversation to be had is not whether or not this is what rich people do all the time. This is like the advantage of having money and resources. And that is like when you start a separate business, you get the protections and the shields of the law in that case, right? So like businesses get a write-off, depreciating assets. They get to, being a business, especially a big one, gives you a lot of advantages that the independent worker and the small business doesn't get because they just don't have the resources. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if we really wanted to have a real conversation about this was David Tepper overly able to shield himself from financial loss because the bankruptcy system benefits people with resources? That would be a reasonable conversation to have, right?
Yeah, I mean,
because he gets to renegotiate some of the debts, right? Like when you declare bankruptcy, like he gets his company to gets declared bankruptcy, but he does it as an individual get penalized at all. Like his credit score ain't going down, right? Doesn't he get to like renegotiate like some of the loans he's taken out?
So what are people mad? Who are people mad at? Like why are people mad in this case? Let me ask you that. Just simply, who do people feel like David Tepper has screwed over?
Well, there's some people believe that like is that he the kind of the whole we were promised Jerry Jones, but we got Dan Snyder. There's that one thing.
Right. But guess what? Who said that? A politician. Let's also keep in mind who we have is these guys are trying to get elected, and how not to look like a fucking asshole. Then is it better to not look like you're the savior? Like we should put all this on the rich billionaire from the north, right? That part, like I was critical about the move, but the part about this, like the bankruptcy, right? He's filing bankruptcy and renegotiating his debts to people who are creditors who have millions of dollars, right? Okay.
Well, now, look at this kind. Look, I don't know. Actually, people know more about this than I thought. That this right here, testing 3 creditors. York. Well, I guess that would be Rock. No. I don't know what York City is, the architect and the construction company. Well, to me, this is why this is where I think I'm kind of rubbed the wrong way. Is that to me, this seems like this is like when this failed, you almost feel like Tepper should lose money. Like he made a business deal with people who couldn't hold their end of the bargain. That is like if I tried to start a restaurant and it failed, I would lose money. To me, at least the way the language sounds, it sounds like at the end of the day, this is like a wash at worst for him.
Right.
But also, I mean, it's 100% a wash from him. And earlier, Tony, you said that you were kind of in between me and CK on the Cam Newton thing. Well, I'm in between you two on this issue. Like, don't get mad at David Tepper. This is what billionaires do.
Exactly.
Like, the laws are meant to benefit billionaires. Yeah, wake the fuck up. That's what everybody's been screaming about since 2016. Like, no shit. That's literally what they do. Where I think people are. Go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead. You're not finished. Good.
Yeah, no, the people that are really upset about this, and this is kind of to Tony's point. And by the way, we did talk about this on the Friday free for all. And yeah, Tony, there actually were a lot of people on the Friday show that were more on David Tepper's side than anything. But one of the main areas of contention is that if you're a normal, average, everyday person, and you had to file for bankruptcy in any kind of way, this is going to negatively affect your life for the rest of your life.
And for a minimum of 7 years.
Whereas for David Tepper, this won't be a blip on the radar of his life. And that's where a lot of that's where I'm just saying, CK, I'm not necessarily saying that I agree. I'm saying that's where a lot of the frustrations are coming from, that this isn't going to do shit to David Tepper or his worth or any of that.
Real quick, okay, because let's everybody who's listening to this and who's mad about this really take a step back and think about this. David Tepper's in that top 1% that everybody hates, right? 99% of us that are not in that 1%, if you were in that situation, would do everything you could and use every legal loophole you could to protect your money. Every single one of y'all almost would. It's just nature. You want to protect what you have. It's going to happen. If it's a legal loophole, then they're going to do it. And honestly, like I said, 99% of you probably would too.
I mean, we talk about, so here's the part. Number one, we can file bankruptcy. I've had people that I've talked to. I'm a debt collector, guys, so keep this in mind. I deal with bankruptcy on the regular. I've had people who, if you know how to use the system as a human, just a regular consumer, you can file bankruptcy and in 3 months have a new credit card. Like, it does not impact you for your life. It is not nearly as impactful as people believe. And I'm not trying to create this situation where you should go and file your bankruptcy, right? Is it impactful? Certainly. But it is absolutely something that you can do. Now, here's the other part to this, right? These legal loopholes exist. Any other place other than a rich billionaire doing this, you would be applauding this. And I mean that. Let's talk about football. When Mike Vrabel found the loophole about the false starts running the clock out, we applauded that because he found a legal loophole that benefited his team in maybe what isn't the most sportsmanlike way. But because he was screwing over somebody like Bill Belichick, this was a fucking amazing thing. Bill Belichick does this. Any other situation in life that we can find find a way to loophole, we let's be real about it. You find out that Walmart has all these TVs on sale by mistake for $1,000 off. You're paying $200 for them. You're running down there and buying that TV immediately. Let's be real about some stuff. So let's not put ourselves on this high horse and pretend like this billionaire is the devil. Like, we all would do it.
I look, and that's why I was surprised there was so much outrage about it. I think if you want to be outraged, it should be about the system that we work and operate under, right? And I am not a destroy the good old boys club type of guy. I want to join the good old boys. I just don't care about money enough. Even if you look at this show, I don't even ask for it. You know, like it's like I wish I did not have to interact with money. Like and I'm not saying that's a reasonable thing. Like, it just adds anxiety. Like, I just don't like to chase money. It's just not personally rewarding to me. Going back to that, I actually felt that Cam measures some of the things that he was saying is like so much of success is just measured in money. In some terms, I thought that was interesting. How much physical possessions are a sign of your success. I thought that was a little interesting. But when it comes to this system that exists, Cody, do you think that when Jeff Bezos opens Amazon Prime up and he's like looking through it, he's like, "Where's my celebrate billionaire week on Amazon Prime?"
He probably does think
the world is going to shit.
Like
There's not a channel. Is that, of course, this is why having assets and means. I saw somebody putting this up here in the chat, is that like anybody can have an LLC. Yeah, certainly anybody can form an LLC, but they also can't obtain millions and millions of dollars of credit at fantastic interest rate, subsidized by the local government, and this and that. At that point, is like, yeah, we could all have a failed business. I call it CarolinaCatChronicles.com. I lose money on it every year, but we can all do that. And yeah, they're not taking my house away. The whole point is just like, being a business gives you a lot of better breaks than not being a business. So it's just that's the way the game is played. So if you don't like that, then we got to start talking about new rules for the game that exists, not being upset. Because if you own, I know people that own rental properties, dude, and they write everything, they look at them all as depreciating assets. They get to write everything off as losses. They're like, oh, dishwasher, 1 year older, air conditioner, 1 year. And they calculate all this to the point that there's a lot of money coming in, and then they get to say, well, nope, don't own it, didn't get any. Like, I'd be curious to see how much David Tepper pays and like how much the Carolina Panthers as a team pay in taxes.
Right.
I'd just be curious to see if this $1 billion that's valued at $6 billion, $16 billion, whatever the hell it's at now, if they are operating at barely a profit. Like, because and that's what a goal of a business is, right? Is to really bend the numbers to say we didn't profit, but still get the results of profitability. right? I mean, like, is that like, hey, that's why, like, if you own a small business, that's why you buy a beater ass car, you park it in your driveway, and then you put a wrap on the car you want to drive, and you say, well, this car is not my car, it's the business car. Mm-hmm. This is why everybody has a business cell phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are all ways to lower. I don't get those same as an individual, but I just don't, that, like, it's the hand is it's not surprising that it's stacked for the people that write the rules.
Yeah, and it's going to be like that in any aspect of life, anything you do. You know, no matter who's writing the rules, it's always going to be stacked for whoever's writing the rules.
And by the way, both the Republican and Democratic Party are going to do nothing but keep it the same fucking way. Yeah. So it's so funny to me that everybody argues the differences between the two. They serve the same masters, y'all. But anyway, look, this is a football podcast.
It's a football podcast that we talked about Cam Newton and now David and
transgenders
and transgender stuff. So yeah, dude,
that was the closest to the field. How about this? The closest to the field is the transgender.
The transgender cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
Oh man, yeah. And by the way, like a lot of people in the Friday free for all were kind of saying the same thing too. I feel like not only is this like just about the bankruptcy issue, but like all the news surrounding David Tepper in the past couple months, none of them have been good news. Like it's the Rock Hill thing, then now inevitably like how fierce and ferocious the Panthers were in trying to go get Deshaun Watson. That didn't turn out. All these quarterbacks like the Panthers are not the main destination for any of them. They always stiff them to go somewhere else. And we're just kind of left holding our nuts, you know? And I feel like that also plays into this. It's like another negative media bit of attention that goes on David Tepper and thereby default on the Carolina Panthers. Like that's our guy.
Who spends more time on the football field on Sundays this season? Our new cheerleader, Cam Newton, or Deshaun Watson?
What's it? Say again?
Who spends more time on Sundays on the actual NFL field this season? Our new cheerleader, Cam Newton, or Deshaun Watson?
Oh, probably
the cheerleader.
Probably our new cheerleader, huh?
Yeah. It's a guaranteed contract, right?
Man. I guess.
Guaranteed play time?
Dude. I guess so. Hey, you want to try and hit some of these cat calls?
There's only 3 calls right now. 3 calls. So let's go ahead and get it. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. A lot of people tell us each and every week that we don't talk about football on this podcast. That's a strange one I see in the chat room. Tell us what the hell to talk about on this cat calls line, 252-228-5098. I need to hear it. I got to play these off my phone since I'm traveling.
I wanted to call it for one reason.
All right, hold on.
Listened to the last week's show, and I didn't like how y'all was disparaging Joe Burrow's weapons. I'm not going to put my foot in. I think I'd rather have Joe Burrow than Justin Herbert right now, honestly. But I don't want to get into that whole debate. But y'all was kind of poo-pooing Joe Burrow's weapons, like he builds them up and doesn't have one of the most stacked offenses in the league. Like the Bengals, cool. Their offensive line is trash. The defense is alright. Like they got Trey Hendrickson and Jesse Bates. Like they're cool. Defense isn't really their calling card. Like they're a big scoring offense. Like Tony, I'm on your head, man. You saw Joe Mixon. You said he was alright. Like that man had 1,200 rushing yards and 13.
Was that the last of it?
I guess. I mean, sorry, I'm just trying to do this all janky.
Hey, who was that again? I didn't hear
that. Was Corey. Let me see if I missed anything. It was 1:46. Let me see.
Of all time, you got to compare that man to Kelvin Benjamin or Hack or say that Kelvin. Nobody questions that draft pick anymore, man. He came out had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. You got to compare that man to Kelvin Benjamin or Hack or say that.
All right, hold on.
Like they're a big scoring offense. Like Tony, I'm on your head, man. You saw Joe Mixon. You said he was alright. Like that man had 1,200 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns last year. Like he's arguably a top 5 running back. He's great. highest drafted receivers since like Julio Jones or Sammy Watkins and stuff, came in with huge expectations. Everybody was saying whether they needed to draft an Sewell, and now nobody questions that draft pick anymore, man. He came out, had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. Do not compare that man to Kelvin Benjamin or say that Kelvin Benjamin had a great rookie season, so we still got to see it happen. No, that man is an elite prospect, elite player. He's out of this world. T. Higgins came in with the most receiving touchdowns in Clemson history. He was a second-round pick, had a good rookie year, and then blew up his second year. Like, he's an elite prospect, too. Like Joe Burrow, he's a great player, and he wills the scene of victory. He does all that good stuff. He has all the intentions that everybody talks about. But he also has elite, in all caps, elite weapons. Better than Justin Herbert's weapons, who also has elite weapons now, too. But that's all I want to say. I appreciate it.
Good call. I still kind of disagree with it. First, I think maybe I'm not saying clearly what I'm thinking, right? Or one of the things is I'm not trying to say that Jamar Chase and Kelvin Benjamin are an apples to apples, but they are two players that had successful rookie seasons, like very successful rookie seasons, right? Is that I just don't want to I don't want to coronate Jamar Chase off of one season alone. That's it.
Makes sense.
Is that the other thing is that yes, T. Higgins might have the most receiving touchdowns in Clemson history, but he's still a second-year player, right? It's like you got a rookie, a second-year receiver, and then honestly, would you, if I said this, let's hold a draft right now. We go around the horn where we could only pick running backs. Are you picking Joe Mixon in the top 5?
No. I don't know about top 5, but he's top 10.
Okay.
I mean, he may be
the
close
last
to 5.
point I'm going to make is this: is that I understand that is all right. Maybe I didn't give them enough credit as a surrounding cast. Maybe I undersold it. Maybe that's a criticism. I have to go back and listen to my exact words on it. But what I'm trying to say is this: is you put Sam Darnold on that team, or you put anybody on that team right now, and you just swap them out? Are you having the same? Like Joe Burrow was the it factor, though. Like those guys had those years because of Joe Burrow, not in spite of Joe Burrow.
But what we're saying though is that it's not like he lifted up a bunch of no names. His offensive line was shit. That you can give him all the credit in the world. But if you look at that receiving core and the weapons that the Bengals have, that is easily one of the best young receiving cores in the NFL, bar none. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And yeah, I don't give a damn. I'm biased as hell. I am a Clemson fan. T. Higgins should have been a first-round pick. That dude is a baller, has always been a baller. And I think that's the point, too. It's like, if you're talking about Justin Herbert's weapons and Joe Burrow's weapons, both of those guys that they have on both of those teams are damn good.
I was about to say, because you better not say they're not.
No, not at all, dude. And Mike Williams, another badass Clemson receiver, legendary Clemson receiver. Dude, all those guys mentioned are incredible. But like right now, I mean, dude, okay, I don't even know if I'm gonna play fantasy this year, but I guarantee you, Jamar Chase is gonna be a top 5 pick in most everyone's fantasy league.
Right.
Like that just goes without question.
And the thing is, too, is I get what you're saying, Tony, 100%. I don't know if there's somebody that I would want to rely on, say they're going to be great every year, but all we have to go on is the 1 year they've put out. They are rookies, but they put out great years. If they quit playing right now, we would have to say they were great players in the year they played. So based on the only information we have to go off of, I would have to say that he didn't lift great players, or didn't lift these players to be great. They came in expecting to be great, and they played great,
I guess like they've only done what they've been billed to do.
Right.
All right, let's go to I gotta stop exiting out of this. I was looking up the Robbie Anderson. I wonder if he's been blocked again.
What's going on, C3? It's Anthony. You already know I be calling in like every week.
Anthony, what's
Man,
up?
the first thing I gotta say is the Texans pulled out the biggest heist in NFL history. They acquired 3 first-round picks, a fourth and a third for a sex offender and a sixth. Okay, us as Panther fans, we would be banging our heads like the Browns right now, and thank God we did it. You know, I honestly, this makes me grateful more for Sam Darnold. No, I'm just kidding with that part. But in all honesty, thank God we did not trade for Deshaun Watson because we would be in this situation too. I love the show, guys. Hopefully, Matt Corral can beat out Sam in training camp so we don't have to trade for Baker Mayfield. Keep pounding.
I feel like I was the one masseuse that did not get it to the face from Deshaun Watson after this. Is like the Panthers missed us, whether it be thank goodness. Imagine that. Imagine if this turns out to continue to go down this course, the Browns could be set back for a decade.
Dude, I don't think that I just think that they're gonna get away with it, man. I think that if Deshaun doesn't play, there's no way that they're gonna be. And maybe I'm just being cynical because I know how much rich billionaires and corporations get away with shit. But if he never plays another, like let's just say, right, hypothetically, that he never played another snap of football. Like, do you honestly think the Browns are not only going to have to pay him all that money, but on top of that, lose out on all those first-round picks for a player that isn't going to play for them? Like, dude, I just know they're going to find some kind of legalese loophole bullshit to get him out of it, man. And maybe I'm, wrong in this, but I don't know. It's a definitely. If you're Deshaun Watson, you continue to look worse day in and day out, man.
Well, we kind of buried the lead on this one a little bit. What I'm out of the loop. What is some new stuff come out? Is he?
Yeah.
Oh no, I missed some stuff.
There was a 23 and 24 accuser hit the news last week. And then this is again something I've said a lot on this show is just because people are in positions of power and authority or important positions in society, don't believe that they're good at what they do necessarily. So like a lot of people will be like, they'll tell this to Cody. They'll be like, well, the other GMs don't think that way, and they know football. Like they're GMs.
Yeah,
and they'll tell
what are you talking about?
Well, Rusty, what's his name?
Rusty Harden.
Harden?
Yeah, Rusty Harden.
He went on a radio show, Greg, and he concluded his. Yes. If we could play this. His lawyer may have set him back farther than anything that he has actually done.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Amber Heard PR company stuff.
All right, check this out.
I don't know how many men are out there.
This is Deshaun's attorney, by the way, mind you.
Now that have had a massage that perhaps occasionally there was a happy ending. All right. Maybe there's nobody in your listening audience that ever happened to. I do want to point out, if it has happened, it's not a crime. Okay. Unless you are paying somebody extra or so to give you some type of sexual activity, it's not a crime. And so at the end of the day, that's another thing that would affect conduct. Doing something or saying something or being a way that makes you uncomfortable is not a crime. And so grand juries find that, and nobody seems to want to listen.
Did he say doing something or saying something that makes somebody uncomfortable?
He basically just said it's not illegal to get a handy shandy at the end of your massage therapy, dude. And,
which I think is.
Definitely
pretty sure it's illegal.
I think it is. Like, is like, oh, It's like, oh, but as long as they don't charge you extra. So
Yeah,
you'd
then
be
you're not
like, well,
paying for it.
I just paid for the massage $200, but if you want to consent to, it was just like that. He came on and said that, Greg, he said like that's his attorney. And
Why?
isn't that
Yeah,
ultimately saying that this all happened to?
That's what he's setting a seed for. Basically, when it comes into play that it did happen. Well, look, it's not a crime. Like we established
He's
this.
like-
He's setting a precedent. It's trying to set a
He's
precedent.
like,
I think we need to
This
set
is
some
guys
time.
here. We're all
Yeah.
guys here. We all guys here. We all know that you're hoping for a happy ending when you get a massage.
Hold on. Here's the thing: is Deshaun Watson has never declined the idea that these things happened. He has always declined that they were not consensual. So that has been his argument. And that's what his attorney is arguing here, is that this is what these acts were consensual. You know, they weren't a part of a business transaction where they said, all right, give me extra money and I'll deep throat that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Think
Like,
that's how it works. So I literally can go to a legitimate massage therapist and make some overt actions and potentially get a happy ending and it just be totally legal.
yeah, dude.
He said, yeah, but damn, I've been totally holding back this whole time.
Dude, I mean, look, man. But that's his attorney. Like,
Right.
Now you have done nothing but invite more hell. Which apparently 2 women filed extra claims because the attorney went out and said this shit.
Yes, that's like all of a sudden just inviting everybody off the street. Number one, that's like the opposite when the attorney always says, "Do less talking, talk less." Like you're like, "Hey, bud, can you stop going on the radio, Rusty?"
Don't say that.
And then on top of that is like I like to think about this is do you remember when the Browns had that press conference with Deshaun? And it's like totally awful, just awful. And they're like, we're very confident that we've had an exhaustive process in vetting all of this. And then it's like, well, did you call his attorney? Because he's like, hey, man, you ever gotten a happy ending? It's not that big of a deal. Hey, like, it's just like, God.
And dude, the Texans were giving out NDAs for them to sign. Like, dude, it goes crazy. And then they were able to dig into the deposition. And dude, it's actually crazy because the lawyer goes, can you explain why you reached out to her on Instagram rather than just using a therapist you used before? He's like, I need massage therapy. He's like, okay, but you could have called someone that you used before, right? He's like, yeah, I could have. He's like, yeah, but you didn't. And he's like, no, I did not. You could have used the Texans, right? Definitely possible, but you didn't, did you? I did not. And then later on, I found it was funny because, like, you know, he didn't care what their level of, technical skill was and them being a massage therapist. And he goes on to point that out, too. He's like, at no point in time was their skill level ever a priority. He's like, you just wanted a massage. And he was like, their skill level wasn't a priority. But like basically saying, I didn't care. I just wanted another different woman.
All right, let's go to the next call. There's 2 calls, and then I gotta go. We gotta wrap this up. My wife is saying we're on vacation. She's saying,
"What's up, C3? It's Anthony again. This is part 2 of my call. I completely forgot to. I was watching 4-Man Rush, and they were doing an interview with Jonathan M. Alexander, and they were asking him a lot of good questions, just because he gets the inside and he knows a lot of people close to Tepper. There's this one question that really stood out to me, and he was talking about the 5-year plan with Rhule and David Tepper. My personal opinion is that I think David Tepper is putting as much pressure as he can on Matt Rhule because he told him about the 5-year plan when they first signed Matt Rhule. So I don't think that David Tepper is going to want to wait 2 more years if we suck again to fire this man. And Jonathan Alexander made a good point. He said he thinks that it'll even take 8 to 9 wins for Rhule to stay. And listen, as a Panthers fan, you don't want us to lose because, who wants to lose? That's not called being a fan of something if you're hoping for the worst. But there are a lot of fans that do want us to find our franchise quarterback. So, it's been crazy when you look at our team compared to other teams, the amount of drama and stuff floating around our team just because we don't know who the quarterback position is. But let me tell you something right now, man. I don't give a damn if we're paying Sam Darnold $18 million. If Matt Corral if he's 2 times better than him, then, man, we need to start Matt Corral because us Panther fans are sick of mediocrity. We're sick of the 5-win season. We want an ABC improvement. And like I said before, when we had Cam, I never went into a season thinking this was a losing season because we had our franchise dude. And the truth of the matter is, Cam meant so much to us that now since we don't have that guaranteed 100% dude, a lot of fans are freaking out and a lot of fans are aborting ship. Well, I'm just here to say that we all can either abort ship or stay on the ship together is what I'm saying. This season's going to be really, really interesting to see how this all plays out with the new O-line and obviously the quarterback situation. I think our defense is still good enough if our offense can produce to win games. So I just wanted to say that. I also really think that, no one's going to like this take, but I'll still stand by it, even if CMC does. I feel like if CMC played the slot position for us, we could have Dante Foreman and Trevor Huff.
That's it. That's the call. Comment on it. I got to get my charger before my laptop does.
Great call about Panthers fans and how we felt about having a franchise quarterback and just how much different you feel going into a season having that position secured. Mm-hmm. And being absolutely right about how we're tired of mediocrity. You're right, man. It just sucks because in order to not have mediocrity this year is probably going to equal Matt Rhule being here longer. So it's which do you want more? One more year being bad doesn't guarantee Matt Rhule leaves, but the next year being good almost guarantees he stays.
The land without a quarterback is a terrible place to live at.
Yeah, and we've been living in it, bro.
That's all I live since 2017.
That's the only thing we do, man. Traverse these lands.
Half a decade, boys. Just think about that.
Last call.
Hey, guys. It's the growl that makes them howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther. I want to talk about 2 things. First is what do I think about the new cheerleader? Well, first of all, I'm not going to say what I think about transgender people in general. Not that, I harbor any ill will towards them. But, being blind, I would like to be able to trust that the girl I take to the room is actually a girl. But cheerleading has never been decided on whether it's a men's or women's sport. Men and women could be on the same team. So therefore, it doesn't affect anyone's sports. So I'm fine with it. I just hope it was based on merit and not the fact that, she wasn't born a woman, but she's a woman.
Agreed.
And the other thing is about that bankruptcy. I'm not pissed that he declared bankruptcy, but I'm concerned because he's such a big baller, David Tepper. He works with the city council of Charlotte. He works with, all these people, and he's making all these decisions that could impact people. He has these ambitions to develop the area around the new train station in Charlotte. And if he's having to declare bankruptcy because his developments are not going right, Rock Hill wasn't the first one. He had something go wrong with the Eastland Mall site. Charlotte FC was supposed to have their headquarters in the old Eastland Mall. That didn't happen. What happened there? Now he's got Rock Hill. What happened there? And he's filing bankruptcy. So I'm not mad that he filed bankruptcy. I'm just concerned that, it's this dude that's going to be responsible for developing this area of downtown Charlotte that's kind of a dead area, really, having walked through there. Like, I'm concerned as, okay, is this guy really does this guy know what he's doing? That's where my concern comes from. Anyway, guys.
Wow. David Tepper does not inspire confidence. And I think that's safe to say nowadays. Everyone has to earn it. Everyone. You know, Greg was just saying if the Panthers do good this year, then that means that, you know, it means we're extending Matt Rhule a little bit longer. Well, dude, if we can get some legit Panther W's, it's like, hey, I'd rather have that, you know?
Right.
And it's the same thing with David Tepper. Like, he's going to continue to have this bad reputation until the Panthers can get good. Like, everybody was talking one time about the Chargers owner, how terrible they were, and how the Rams owner is so terrible. But it's like now those teams are looking up, and now no one gives a shit. No one talks about that stuff anymore.
Right.
So
the shit turns on a dime.
Everything.
Like, we at one point praised the hell out of David Gettleman, and now we're in this situation where we hate him. Right? There's different avenues.
Yeah, I mean, I had Dave Gettleman for president at one point on my Twitter handle. Go back and watch to the people that are talking about the David Gettleman discussion. Go back and watch the podcast from 2 weeks ago, the one that's got the Devontae Adams remembers that the Panthers passed on him. A lot of the comments that they're talking about in the comment section, we talked about like those draft picks, some of the successes, some of the failures of that era. Yeah, I mean, winning solves it all, dude. You know, That's why, like, look, that's why Watson can get away. Like, if he was a 5th round pick and a cornerback, nobody would give he would be out of football. It's like, that's why it's like the hardest position, the most valuable, and you put up with a lot. It's almost with, I felt like that with Cam is like, or with Cam is like, now the play doesn't match the persona anymore.
Right.
And so, like, it just doesn't come with the reward that, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want to get back into that, but that's all I got for tonight, other than the ice up picks. You guys have, anything else you really need to talk about?
No, I think that's it, man. We did a good show. We'll get out here in a rare 2-hour podcast.
I know. It takes me traveling, and my wife, even I told my wife, I said, this should be a long one. We don't have a lot to talk about. 2 hours later, we're still here though. But still, that's what we're here for. We're for the long form, deep discussion about everything to talk about. Oh, do you think that picture you put up of the new cheerleader, is that the angle, or is that person's legs really 3/4 of their body?
No, she has legs like Cam Newton.
They're like big, like it's like they don't match her body.
The
rest of the body. It was like the torso was so tiny, and this legs, it's like a little body on these long stilts. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. The last segment of the show is where we ice somebody up. We tell them to toughen up, get it together. It's our homage to Steve Smith, and this is where everybody is fair game. You get to pick anything out in life that you want to call out. And even sometimes we do reverse ice-ups and celebrate some things, I guess, sometimes. But anybody got anything that's irking them about the world?
Yeah, I do. Quit thinking that monkeys and orangutans are cute and shit, dude. They are as strong as superheroes. Okay, dude, did you know how easily, and nothing terrible happens here, but just imagine how terrified you would be in this moment, dude. People have no idea how strong an orangutan is, dude. And this orangutan will just not let this dude go, man. And he's got him. And he's just pulling on him. Listen to how scared he is.
He is scared. He is terrified.
He is so terrified. And dude, people think that just because chimps and orangutans, that they're really cute, that they won't absolutely fuck your shit up, dude.
Did you hear about that lady that got killed in her house by one? This was a few years ago.
Yeah, dude. An ape, an orangutan, dude. They will rip your shit apart in a blink. So to the idiot who thinks it's okay to just like go up to the cage and like put your hands out in front of them, like, dude, you deserved every single bit of what happened to you next, man. So to people like, there's an even worse one of someone putting his finger in a lion's cage, messing with the lion, and then gets his finger ripped off.
Of course.
Like, dude, you play dumb games, you win stupid prizes. So,
all right. Who else has got to ice up?
I'll go real quick. Let me share this screen real quick. Okay, mine's just real quick on some gun control issues and just the things that people put out there about guns. And I'm not arguing about how guns need to be controlled and all this stuff, but I just want to put out there stuff that is misinformation to guide people in the wrong direction if you're not aware about guns or don't anything about it. If you want to share this, I saw this picture the other day, and it's shooting a deer with a bolt action 30-06, and it just shows the deer standing up and then kind of laying down. And then shooting a deer with a semi-auto 5.56, and it shows the deer right here, and then just an explosion. I didn't grab the ammunition out of my gun cabinet, but I wanted to grab these two rounds for y'all to show y'all the difference between a 5.56 round and a 30-06 round, because this is not the way these things work. They're playing word games with you here, because they put semi-automatic and assault rifle, and they try to make people think that because it says semi-automatic and assault rifle, it's automatically deadly. Well, let me tell you something. Every single weapon there is out there, every single gun except for a single action revolver, a pump action shotgun, or a bolt action rifle is semi-automatic. Every single one of them. All it means is that when you pull the trigger, it fires. That's all it means. It fires one round when you pull the trigger. Every single gun except for fully automatics and those that I just mentioned are like that. Okay. So they say that to try to make you scared. Semi-automatic is terrible. It's not. Guns are semi-automatic, period. Almost all of them. Okay. And a 5.56 round is a very small round. You can do much more damage with a shotgun shell than you can with a 5.56 round. The reason the military uses 5.56 rounds is because they're cheap and easy to make. That's why they use them, because they're accurate at long distances. Okay. It has nothing to do with how terrible this bullet is and how horrible it can kill people. All bullets can kill people, but they portray these images to people of semi-automatic and assault rifle. Assault rifle is just a name. It's just a cool name. The military gave it because they use it in the military. Doesn't mean anything else. It doesn't mean that it's more lethal than anything else. I just don't like the way uninformed people like our president put information out there to try to teach people about guns and have no idea what they're talking about. Yes, there are issues with guns that suck. 99% of people who own guns are good people, though. That's all there is to it. And guess what? Banning guns is not going to stop gun violence. Doesn't stop speeding. Doesn't stop people from using drugs. Doesn't stop rape. Doesn't stop assault. Doesn't stop burglaries. Doesn't stop arson. Doesn't stop murder. All those are illegal too.
And it makes sure that only the good guys or only the bad guys would have guns, because they're going to get them through illegal means anyway.
When you take away guns, the only people that have them are cops and bad people. Listen, the technology to make a gun is out there. It's very simple to do. People have figured it out. Now. When you make it illegal, all people have to do is buy a gun to make it illegal, or buy the stuff they want to make a gun. You can make other things that aren't guns into guns.
Then we should just legalize everything.
That's not no. Well, I don't think you should legalize everything. The problem is not with a gun itself. It's not with the laws that are out there for guns. The problem is the laws not being enforced. Okay, there's a reason why places like Chicago, who have the strictest gun laws in the country, have the highest rate of gun.
That's because we also are in a country where there's access to guns in a near proximity. I just think this is that, like,
regulations are followed like they're supposed to be, though, then that prevents these things from happening. Not 100%. It's never going to be 100%. It's not going to.
Yeah, is that the one thing I will take issue with is the assault rifle term, right? I just like, let's not confuse assault rifles with hunting weapons, though.
But no, that's the issue right there. Is that's what they're trying to tell you. An assault rifle A 5.56 round assault rifle can do a lot less damage than a lot of those.
Well, it's
hunting
not
rifles
less
you're talking about
damage.
can.
It's just that gun is not made to go hunting. An AR,
I agree, and
is
nobody
not made
hunts
for-
with an
and
AR.
I hate when people are
don't
like,
hunt with
"Oh,
those.
well, like how am I going to hunt deer without my like my close range, like meant for urban combat gun?"
But it's not meant for.
It's
urban
just not a
combat.
hunting rifle, which is fine. Like I don't know what the answer is,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's as simple as saying either that if it was illegal, then only bad people would have them. Like, I mean, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but I don't think we should outlaw. I just think that, like, I don't know what the answer is, but the messaging is a big deal. Like you said, the messaging, and it gets lost. CK, you got something for us?
I don't have anything. I'll just make a short comment on that. I'm not in complete disagreement with some of the things that Greg says. I personally don't think the argument about hunting is a valid one. I think the majority of people, if you ask from a logical standpoint why you would need it, it's because our government has guns that are even far more superior to that. And if there's anything we've learned over the past 3 years is that we're one freedom away from the government being able to take all of our rights, right? It's just they often take freedoms and rarely give them back, right? So that's kind of my mindset. Is I mean, listen, am I ready to go to arms with the government? No, but let's be real about it. It's going to be a lot harder to overthrow a tyrannical government, if I could speak today.
Cam Newton.
A tyrannical government with pistols or hunting rifles when you're facing automatic ARs.
And can I just say too?
But you know what is you ain't overthrowing the old days of the militiamen running out there and upsetting.
No, not at all.
No. Hold on. Look, can I just say too, real quick? Oh, real quick. This picture I showed with the deer. I'm not suggesting that people use ARs to go hunting, because anybody who's a hunter, you don't use the damn AR to go hunting. You can use a gun and shoot a gun as a sport too. It can be fun. People do it with archery. People do it with people have all kinds of things they do as a sport. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, and you can enjoy things that can be dangerous. So I mean, I don't know. I just didn't want y'all to think that I was
say that 90% of gun owners were good people.
Yeah,
and
most people who own guns are
I
good
gotta
people.
agree. I think 90% of people who get massages at parlors are good people. But only 10% of them are asking for happy endings at the end, and they ruin a good massage for everybody.
You're right.
Dang it. No, my ice up pick is so ice up to misinformation, right? With the gun discussion, and let's actually have the real honest discussion rather than these hyperbole type things.
Agreed.
My ice up pick goes to the reality that pretty people have an easier life than everybody else. It's true, folks.
Yep. 100%.
If you are pretty, you have an advantage in life. We're in Helen, Georgia, in the mountains of Georgia. One of the things that they do in this little town is they go tubing on the Chattahoochee, and they just get a bunch of people just get in inflatable donuts and float down this lazy river for 2 miles. What a lazy river. It's not like, I mean, it's a river. It does. It has some. My wife's over here going, it's not a lazy river. It's a real river. It's the Chattahoochee. But it's like this, is that you get stuck a lot. I will tell you this, is if you ever go tubing, don't tether yourself to anybody, right? Like that's the first thing, is the people that get stuck are always connected to other people. And the more people you're connected to, the more chances you get stuck.
Right.
But we were sitting there eating an appetizer overlooking the river where all these people float by. And I got to say, man, the entitlement of pretty people was just so annoying. Is every time we saw everybody got stuck, right? Stuck. The person who was physically more attractive didn't do shit. They just sat there. And they made the other person get them out of the problem every single time. And so to the point we go here is that we're sitting there. I just go, look, let's go. And then so it wasn't even a gender thing. One time it was a guy with two girls, and the guy was the more physically attractive person than the two girls. It was two busted looking girls. And he sat there. Miranda goes, man, he just lifted his flip-flops out of the water. He won't do it shit. He was like this, I ain't even get wet. Like, if you are pretty, you are entitled, and the world is easier. And I will say, ice up to that reality that we live in. And if you think you're pretty, I saw this one time, this guy, Miranda goes, well, what about that guy? He made his girlfriend. I said, he thinks he's prettier than he is. He won't do it. Man, it was ridiculous.
They are pretty though, aren't they? Shit.
God, it was so funny. It was like some girls, they would just be like, I ain't doing shit. Like, I mean, they're both stuck. Like, you should be working together.
It out in the selfie challenge.
These one girls had a selfie challenge to figure out who was more pretty to see who had to get them unstuck. It was crazy. Ice up.
Yep. We need to pray for our young people, man. They're sick. They're growing up twisted.
Kids. There is an article. There is a real correlation to this. This lady won like a big prize for journalism. I'm forgetting the name of the prize, but she wrote this a study about people in Kentucky, and it was called Poor Teeth. And it was like how people who have fucked up teeth, actually their teeth prevent them from having success. Like there's like a socioeconomic link to their teeth. And their teeth then send them into a death spiral of poverty even more.
Oh no!
Right, so like they have bad teeth because they're poor, but then they can't get out of poverty because they got bad teeth. Poor teeth. I know, crazy. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Cody Lack, where can they get after you?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Every Friday at 7 p.m., your opportunity to join the show on the Friday Free For All. Anyone can join. Come on the StreamYard. We'll let you talk about the Panthers and have a good ass time, man.
CK, where can they get after you?
You can get after me on all the social medias, Twitter, the Facebooks, the YouTube. You can find me at Codizzle Allen. Try to put content out, try to find a way to make that work, and the current busy life that we all tend to lead. Go shoot me a follow.
Greg, where can they get you?
Yeah, man, check me out at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter is my personal handle. Check out my show, Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. We go live very shortly after the Friday Free For All on Friday. I see a lot of y'all showing up there from the Friday Free For All. I appreciate that. But come check it out, man. We talk television shows, movies, comics, all kinds of different stuff. See,
I want to come on anytime you talk about the boys.
Well, we're definitely talking the boys this week. Obi-Wan, deeper dive into Maverick, and then we got all kinds of stuff coming up. Umbrella Academy, Thor: Love and Thunder, Miss Marvel. It's endless. All the stuff coming up. So,
all right, if I'm back from, we're traveling back on Friday, so if I'm back in time, I'm coming on.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah. All right, take us out of here, Cody.
All right, Panther Nation. Until next time, keep pounding.